When you think of a wedding and you think of a honeymoon, you think of excitement and a new life together. But today, the honeymoon led to murder. In late May 2010, newlyweds Debbie and Jamie Starbuck were about to jet off on their honeymoon, the trip of a lifetime, when they planned to visit almost every continent on the map: Europe, the Americas, Australia, Africa. What an amazing adventure was in store. Debbie and Jamie met online 9 months earlier. It was a whirlwind romance. Look, it's a true crime channel. We've got to have cliches. But to those around them, they seemed very much in love. Debbie, who was 44, and Jamie was 36, they married on the 21st of April 2010. The reception was held in the couple's back garden in the north of Nottingham, when around 10 people, friends and family, gathered for a celebratory barbecue and drinks to discuss what had happened that day and their plans for the future. The couple started their trip in Europe. Debbie kept in touch with friends and family via email and postcards, as did Jamie. But Jamie also resurrected his old blog. And here's a snippet of his first post. "I'm back, baby. I've missed blogging, it's been too long. I've got so many things to write about too. I'll be posting traveling stories, thoughts, queries, and general stuff. I promise this. Number one, everything will be honest, frank, and truthful. Two, any question you want to ask will be welcomed and responded to. And three, you can challenge me on anything. Love ya." Jamie's blog charted their movements. First, it was Amsterdam. He wrote, "Amsterdam itself was lovely. Great city. The people are so friendly. The level of English is better than most of the gobshites in England. Great museums, the Heineken Brewery, the red light district. Nothing sexier than a woman in a window, and more." Then on to Italy and Greece. He wrote, "Greece is shit. No, really. You may have visions of it being amazing, of the amazing history or the monuments, the sculpture and the ruins. That's all there, and a lot of it is stunning. Delphi is my particular favourite, but that doesn't detract from the bigger problem: the people." Then India, America, Colombia. Jamie's blog was a mix of diary entries and musing on his time away. But by March 2012, 22 months after this trip of a lifetime, Debbie's loved ones and her friends were starting to worry. Something wasn't right. In fact, it was very wrong. Around this time, Debbie's sister Beth contacted the police. She was becoming extremely concerned because when Debbie contacted her by email in her most recent contact, she didn't wish her a happy birthday. And Beth knew that this was most unlike Debbie. She would never forget something like this. The case landed on the desk of Detective Chief Inspector Rob Griffin at Nottinghamshire Police. But there wasn't an awful lot he or the police could do. Debbie and Jamie, they were consenting adults on holiday. They're free to travel as they please, where they choose to go, and who they choose to contact and how is, of course, completely up to them. But what the police did do is send an email to Debbie's account, asking her to pop into the nearest British embassy when she could, just to show she was okay. But when Debbie didn't respond to their email or present herself at the nearest embassy, the police then had cause to investigate further. Debbie worked as a self employed proofreader, but a few years before meeting Jamie, she'd inherited a significant amount of money from her late mother's estate, over £150,000. On checking her bank accounts, the police could see that £75,000 had been transferred from Debbie's account into Jamie's. It was almost certain that this money was being used for the holiday, and so the police could use this information to trace where the couple had been on their trip. The police also checked the pair's passports to see where and how often they'd been used. That's when things began to take on a much more sinister turn. Not only had Debbie's passport expired, it had actually expired before the couple set off on their travels. This shocking realization hit officers that Debbie Starbuck had never even left the country. So if Debbie wasn't abroad, where was she? Back in Nottingham, the police tried to work out her last known location. They established that Debbie hadn't been seen for sure since the 27th of April 2010, just 1 week after she and Jamie got married. but people had been hearing from her. Some friends and some family had been receiving emails and postcards from Debbie. So again, if Debbie wasn't abroad, who could it be who was sending messages claiming to be from her? Jamie Starbuck, of course, now became a person of significant interest to the police. The police brought in a team of forensic linguistics experts to take a look at Debbie's emails. They were able to access messages sent by Debbie before and after the wedding, along with emails written by Jaime sent from his own account. The team split the emails into two author categories: disputed on one side and undisputed. Emails sent by Debbie before the wedding were undisputed, as were all of Jamie's emails. The disputed emails were those allegedly sent by Debbie while she was away travelling. Immediately, the team could tell that Debbie and Jamie had very different writing styles. Debbie used lots of semicolons, whereas Jamie used them rarely. But in the disputed emails, the semicolon use was far more frequent than even in Debbie's writing. Further examination showed that semicolons in the disputed emails were used grammatically in the same way that they were in Jamie's writing. So, to the forensic linguistics team, this was strong evidence to suggest that Jamie had actually been writing as Debbie and had purposely increased his semicolon use in a bid to impersonate her. It seemed that Debbie's sister and friends were right to have concerns about the emails they were receiving from Debbie. Whilst making inquiries with Jamie and Debbie's neighbours in the UK, the police made another grim discovery. The family next door remembered Jamie using a garden incinerator in the days leading up to their trip. They recalled high flames coming from the couple's garden, the same garden where they'd celebrated their wedding reception just weeks earlier, and a terrible smell following the flames. The neighbours described how Jamie carefully removed the ash from the garden incinerator, placing it into bags to be disposed of. They also said they saw him meticulously cleaning around the garden in the days after the fire. Although the police were starting to build a strong picture of suspicion around Debbie's husband, this was still not enough to put out a warrant for his arrest. I'm surprised at that. I wonder if you are too. I thought what we've heard about so far would have been enough for a warrant. But having conducted these inquiries in Nottingham, the police then decided to contact Jamie via email. Now, if he was guilty of a serious crime as suspected, he must have known, he must have done, that this day would come when the authorities caught up with him. I wonder how he felt when he read that email. And although the detectives didn't receive a response to their message, they did note a significant change in the tone of Jamie's blogs. They started to become more reflective and confessional almost, like this one. An apology to everyone I've met or talked to the past 3 years. I'm sorry. I lied to you by omission. Some of you gave me hope and helped pull me through the hell I was in. Some proved that people aren't as shit as I'd always thought, and that neither was I. And some are simply wonderful. We chatted, we talked, we laughed and cried, we shared secrets and spent much time together. And yet you might not have done, if I'd been honest. I removed your choice of deciding who I really was. I impacted negatively upon you by withholding a vital piece of information, and for that, I apologise. 3 years ago, I was in a bad way, to say the least. I thought I was insane. I may actually have been. I was consumed by anger and fear. Anger at past injustices, fear at the future, and controlled by a need to be loved. I was suicidally depressed and without a hope, and then I saw a way out and I took it. I went travelling. I absolved myself of all responsibility and I ran away. I was looking for me, the me I was happy with and to be. But to do it, I had to use you all. I had to lie and not tell you something. If in the future you find out what this something is, remember the me I became and not the me that was, for they're two very different people. It's difficult to imagine being that person. I'm ready to come home now. I'll be there in about 5 weeks, give or take, because I'm finally ready to face up to life. So it's vague, but it's a start. It was clear that the prime suspect in Debbie Starbuck's disappearance was soon to be returning to British soil. All DCI Rob Griffin and his team could now do was to wait for Jamie to make his next move. And 4 long months later, one of Jamie's most important blog posts landed. It read the following: I'm sat on a bus heading for Lima. It's 90 minutes of noise, random potholes, and insufferable heat. I'm going through this one more time before I go home. I'm literally leaving paradise to face my destiny in England. I left the UK a long time ago in search of, well, in all honesty, I was running away from life and responsibility, justice in my past. I didn't acknowledge it at the time, but apparently I was looking for somewhere to call home. Somewhere I could imagine living forever, where I could be ethical and free, where I wouldn't be judged or condemned for the sometimes bafflingly bizarre decisions I make, where I'd be accepted. Jamie Starbuck was leaving South America for the UK. The police scrambled to find out when and where, and on the 19th of January 2013, Jamie Starbuck stepped off a plane at Heathrow Airport and was arrested. When detectives searched Jamie, they found 2 bank cards in Debbie's name. Of the £75,000 transferred from Debbie's account to Jamie's, police found just £6,500 remained. At the police station, Jamie made the terrible confession that he'd killed Debbie. And not only did he kill his wife, but he dismembered her body and burned her remains. He gave the police the rough location of where he disposed of Debbie's ashes, but despite an extensive search of the local woodland, the police were unable to find her remains. Alongside Jamie's confession, the police built their case using digital forensic evidence. They were able to prove that Debbie never left the country, and Jamie had been buying single one-way tickets while he was travelling. And then there were the emails pretending to be Debbie. Detectives already were pretty certain about the semicolon usage, but they also noted a difference in the number of line breaks used between Love and Debbie. Debbie used 1, but Jamie used 2. Debbie signed off all her emails as Debbie, but Jamie signed them off as Deb. In probably the most chilling twist of all, the police recovered a previously deleted note from Jamie's iPad. It was a letter addressed to Debbie. Part of it read, I planned it to be quick. I never thought you'd be so durable. In 2013, Jamie's trial began at Nottingham Crown Court, where he pleaded guilty to murder. Jamie Starbuck was sentenced to life in prison, where he will need to spend at least 30 years before being considered for parole. The judge told him, this was a cruel deception by you solely to get control of her assets. Her dying must have been brutal and horrific. You knew she came from a strict Jewish background where cremation is wholly outside their tradition, but you dismembered her body and burned it. Even in death, you stripped her of all dignity. After the trial, Debbie's sister Beth spoke to the press on behalf of the family, and she paid tribute to her sister's memories, saying, Deb was bright, adventurous, and full of life. She was kind, loving, and loyal, and had so many friends who loved her. She was the sort of person who'd always go to great lengths to be there when you needed her. She was always interested in learning new things and meeting new people. Sadly, this led her to meet Jamie Starbuck, who took all that away from her. We had no opportunity to say goodbye and no opportunity to grieve. We were living with the illusion that she was alive and happy and travelling around the world with Jamie. Everything that we've been told about what happened to Deb leads us to a place of unimaginable horror. There could have been some comfort if we're able to find her body and lay her to rest. After what we have heard today, any hope of that seems futile. The thought that her bones lay scattered, burnt, and lonely on a remote hillside or in a dark wood somewhere leaves us feeling desolate. Jamie has taken everything from Deb. He's taken her whole life, everything that she was and wanted to be, her hopes and dreams, and her chance to be a mother, which she wanted most of all. And Jamie Starbuck fortunately didn't surface for a while, until he wrote a letter to the prison magazine Inside Time. It's only a short piece. In it, he said the following. Aside from getting into a yearly fight at school with the same boy, I've only done one violent act, and that got me 30 years in prison. When I become eligible for parole, I'll be 66 years old. I'll have no money, no contact with anybody on the outside, no house or other material possessions. I'm struggling to see what further purpose that I can serve. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suicidal or even unhappy. I'm not even being facetious. It's a serious question I'm facing and asking. What is the point of my being? What do you make of that piece of writing? It doesn't exactly scream remorse for what I've done, does it? As always with Jamie Starbuck, it is always about him. And so there we have it. As Jamie Starbuck contemplates his pointless life in a jail cell, which suits me just fine, I don't know about you, I'm much more concerned about Debbie's friends and family. They too face a life sentence, but for them, it's a life without Debbie and a life cut so short, meaning all those times they would have spent with her in the rest of her life have been snatched away, all due to the actions of Jamie Starbuck. And the other thing that I can't help wondering about this story is when they met online, was Jamie trawling the dating sites, looking for someone able to fund his travels? I hope you found this story of interest. If so, please do watch one of my others. Until next time, I've been Adam Lloyd.